What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. This video is going to be a bit different. It's not going to be a workout vlog or anything like that. I just wanted to touch on one subject, which is cutting. It's that time of year where a lot of us want to cut, we want to shed body fat, and there's a lot of new beginners out there who are cutting for the first time, and there's a lot of information out there, and it can be really scary at first, and there's definitely a right way to do it, definitely a wrong way. There's many ways you can approach doing it in the correct way, but there's also many bad ways you could approach cutting, and today I'm here to talk about that. I'm gonna break this video down into 3 important points of cutting. One is gonna focus on nutrition, one is gonna focus on your workouts, and then one is gonna focus on the overall mindset you need to have in order to go into a cut. First thing I'm gonna talk about is nutrition, because this is very important and it either makes or breaks your cut, and a lot of things can go wrong if you don't do it properly. So when we're cutting, we wanna maintain the muscle mass we have. That's very important that we maintain the muscle mass we have so that when we shed the fat, the muscle that we've worked so hard to build is there, and in the process we don't lose muscle with the fat. Now, how does this happen? So this happens a lot, and it's happened to me where my physique was at a point where I needed to cut, and I didn't really know exactly how to cut. I just knew that I needed to eat less, move more, and just essentially drop weight. So it's exactly what I did. I built a really unhealthy relationship with food, wasn't eating as much as I should, was losing fat, so getting lean, loved it, but didn't realize that at the same time I was also losing a lot of muscle. Your muscle needs calories to stay there. Your muscle needs to be fed in order to grow. And the way in which we will keep our muscle and get rid of the fat all comes down to nutrition and your training. In order to burn the fat and still preserve your muscle, it's going to come down to you're still training intensely and still giving your muscles the stimulus it needs to know that it needs to stay on your body and needs to withstand the the physical exertion you're putting it through. And the nutrition aspect, if your muscles aren't getting the proper nutrition and they're not getting fed, they're simply just not going to grow, and they're not going to stay the way they are. And with under eating and going into a state of being in an extreme deficit, we understand that the first thing we're going to burn off is carbs. Once our carbs are gone, we're gonna tap into fat, and this is when we start to lose body fat. But then after that, if you're being extreme, and this is when the poor eating habits come into play where we're just under eating severely, we can then tap into muscle. And this is how people lose muscle while they're cutting. It's hard to preserve all of it. Like, there will be even if you're doing it perfectly, you still will probably lose a very, very small percent of muscle during this process, because after all, you are in a caloric deficit, but it's just about maintaining as much as we possibly can. So my approach to cutting, what I learned is that you still want to have structured meals, and you actually want to be eating more than if you were, say, bulking. Not eating more calories, but you're eating more frequently. The biggest thing with cutting is getting your metabolism to a point where it's kind of an overdrive and it's working super, super efficiently, burning food immediately. So if you're used to eating 3 meals a day when you're not cutting or bulking, and you're just kind of maintaining, when you start cutting, I would recommend that you now eat 5 meals. It's going to be less calories, obviously, but you can break it up into different eating windows, and it's going to help your body become more efficient at burning calories, because you're giving your body more work to do, which is burning burning calories. This is making your body work harder, and as a result of this, you're burning more calories and your metabolism is getting super efficient. Things are just getting used immediately, nothing's getting stored. The next part is your training. Now, when you're in a deficit, obviously your strength isn't gonna be there as much as it would be. You're gonna notice that you're a bit more fatigued, and there's a few other symptoms as well. There's no real way around being fatigued, kind of losing your strength in a calorie deficit when you're cutting. It's just gonna happen, but there's ways to tone it down a bit and make it not as severe. So what I really focus on is my eating windows before my training and after my training. The first time I ever cut, I would wake up, take pre-workout, go to the gym, and just work out fasted. And I felt great, there was some mental clarity benefits to it, and it helped me get lean very quickly, but my strength was nothing at the gym. I was so tired, and as a result, lost muscle very quickly, but didn't didn't really know that because I was so focused on just losing fat. So when the muscle started to show, I was just happy. I didn't care that I was even losing muscle. Still want to train with intensity. This is a huge aspect when you're cutting. I know you're tired and I know you don't have the strength, but you still need to push your body and try to push heavy weight, because it's going to give your muscles a stimulus to essentially stay, and to basically tell your muscles that they still need to be like working at full capacity, and they need to still be able to withstand the stimulus you're putting on it. If you go into a cut and you start training extremely light, like no intensity, your muscles are just going to lose the stimulus. And while yes, you're working out and you'll still be burning calories and getting leaner. So when you're cutting, train with intensity. Eat a large meal, like one of your larger meals before you work out. This is something I always recommend, just so you have fuel for your workout. This is where it gets extremely controversial with cutting. People like to intermittent fast, work out fasted. There's many different ways to go about this, but what worked with me was when I was cutting, to combat the fatigue and the overall loss of strength, I would have one of my bigger meals during the day right before the gym. And this makes sense. Obviously you're giving yourself a lot of carbs and a lot of fuel to get through your workout with enough energy and enough power to push the weight you want to move. Now the mental part. This is a very long, I could go on for a long time talking about this, but when you're cutting for the first time, or any time, whenever you're cutting, it's a complete mindset shift. When you go from maintaining or bulking and your eating habits aren't super strict and you're just kind of eating and training and just taking it day by day, transitioning over to cutting and being on your strict eating regimen, it's very hard at first, but it's for a reason. All good things come with a cost, obviously, and cutting, you're gonna feel great. You're gonna feel shredded. You're gonna love it. But there is a lot of mental side effects that come with cutting. Your cutting can get very difficult, and obviously it plays a role on your mind in many different ways. Obviously you're gonna be thinking about food constantly. It's always gonna be on your mind. Your cravings are going to be amplified like crazy, and you're just really always going to be thinking about food, when your next meal is, how much protein did I have, and it's just a lot to take in all at once. And there's just ways that you can cope with it. It's important that you still maintain a healthy relationship with food. If you cheat on your diet, you have a cheat meal, don't worry, it's fine. Like, you can always just get back on track in terms of preparing your mindset for a cut. There's a lot of things that end up happening that you don't really expect. But just to kind of summarize everything, I'll basically just kind of explain what happens. You can't stop thinking about food. Food is always on your mind. You're always thinking about your cravings. In fact, those are amplified. You're constantly thinking about like your next meal. Did I eat enough today? Wow, I'm so hungry. It's gonna play a bit into your social life, where like for me personally, like the first time I cut, if I'd go to eat with my friends, I was literally Googling the menu just to make sure that they had something for me that would like fit my calories. Going to like family events, like not eating cake, and like, yes, that's a good thing that you're like not eating those things. It's gonna help your cut, but at the same time, we really want to make sure we have like a barrier in between like what we're doing and then like our social life. We really don't want them to overlap and like conflict with each other. Enjoy your piece of cake and really just understand the idea of everything in moderation. It's not gonna kill you if you have a piece of cake. The next day you're gonna burn it off, as long as you know that with your mindset, you'll be able to get back on track. Now for a lot of people, it has to be like cold turkey, can't have anything, or like if they give in a little bit, they're gonna give all the way in, and that's something that happens with me, and that's gonna happen with everyone. Essentially, it's like when you're restricting yourself of calories so much, you just want everything. Everything sounds that much better, and you just really want everything. So when you do take that chance, you do cheat a little bit, you're out with your friends, you're out with your family, and you do cheat, you do have like a piece of cake, your mindset's gonna like switch, and it's gonna be like, I want all of it, I need all of it, because it's so deprived. And it's important we don't let ourselves do that. So it's very important that you know going into it, I'm gonna eat this and then that's it. Tomorrow I'm gonna be back on track, or you're gonna pay the consequences. But that's easier said than done. You may have to go through a couple of those kind of just fallbacks. But at the end of the day, just realize that it's not a big deal. It's just gonna help you the next time around be stronger, and you're gonna be fine. It's not gonna affect your cut that much, as long as you don't make it a habit. Key thing with mindset, there's a lot of little tips and tricks that you can do to keep yourself like not hungry, for example, and to stop thinking so much about food. One of the biggest things when you're cutting is hydration. Water plays a huge role. You need to be drinking a lot of water, because a lot of times you're getting dehydrated and you think you're hungry, you're craving all these things, but at the end of the day, you have a huge glass of water and then you realize, wow, I was just dehydrated. So drinking tons of water on a cut is gonna really suppress your appetite and just help you overall, because drinking water is a very important thing. Another thing is get really creative with your meals. Get really creative with how you make your meals. High volume meals with a low caloric cost is so important, and this is such a key thing for your mind to just kind of keep it at ease and not be hungry all the time. So all these things you see on TikTok, this like low calorie ice cream, 3 ingredient, where it's like a whole blender for like 180 calories. These things are good, and it's like not good to like make a whole diet out of these things, but there's many ways. There's a lot of good substitutes for when you have cravings or when you're just hungry and you're like, oh, I'm out of calories, but I need something, like I'm so hungry. Things like that, those are great. So really build like an arsenal of just meals and like little, I'll call them like trick meals like that are gonna help you a lot. Another thing is low calorie drinks, like 0 calorie, like those ice drinks, or even diet pop. Like yes, don't make a big habit out of that, but those things are better than like the real thing, like a real pop, really sugary drinks every once in a while if you need it. Another huge tip, a huge mental tip with making this whole process a lot easier is gonna be, if you have the ability to, like if you live on your own, just don't buy the things that you're gonna be tempted with eating. Like don't buy the cookies, don't buy the chips, don't buy the ice cream. Obviously like that sounds easy, but most of the time when it's just around you and it's just like in sight, and you're hungry, you're gonna wanna eat it. But if you're hungry and it's not around, like you're just simply not gonna eat it. It's just like what we have and like what's super accessible. So just try to, if you can, like if you live in a house and like you're not on your own and you live with your family, obviously that's more difficult, but just hiding things, kind of like telling them to hide things from you just so you aren't as tempted, and just kind of explain to them this whole process. Like I'm sure they'll understand. The last few tips I basically wanna tell you are just some tips about sleep, your supplements, and then caffeine. Now, caffeine can be your friend on a cut. Obviously, being super addicted to caffeine isn't a great thing, but most of us are. Most of us need our coffee, need our pre-workout, but especially when we're cutting, having our pre-workout, having your coffee, it's gonna really suppress your appetite, and these things are really gonna help you not have cravings and not wanna eat. Obviously in moderation though. Don't have 6 coffees a day, multiple scoops of pre-workout. Like that's not a good thing. But when if you have a coffee a day and you have a pre-workout like right before you work out, that's gonna really help with your appetite, and it's gonna obviously save you some calories. The next thing is supplements. Now there is supplements out there that do help, but at the end of the day it's a supplement, and it's supplementary to what you should be focusing on, which is a whole foods diet and just like healthy habits. Supplements are just gonna help you given that you're doing all the other things properly as well. So there's fat burners, which is, these aren't healthy things and you shouldn't rely on things like that, but if you know what you're doing, fat burners can be effective. There's like herbal remedies, like different types of tea and things like that that'll help suppress your appetite, keep you full. Just things along those lines is worth looking up because there's lots of information out there. Next thing is sleep. Sleep is so crucial, especially when you're cutting, because your body, given that it's not getting as many nutrients as it's used to, the recovery process won't be as optimal. So ensuring that you're getting enough sleep is a very important thing. If you're not getting enough sleep, like you're sleeping 4 hours, like 3 to 4 hours a night, and you're obviously eating poorly and you're not eating enough and you're still working out every day, your body's not gonna recover and you're gonna run into some major problems. You're gonna run into just changes with your mood and just a whole list of things that'll go wrong. So sleep is very, very important. That's the one variable that never changes. Sleep is just as important as the actual workout and recovery process of like nutrition. They all have to go together or it's just not gonna work. So I hope I covered enough there. I know there's some things I probably missed, but I tried to break it down into the nutrition, the training, and then the mental aspect. It might be worth making a part 2 if I think of some things I left out that are worth sharing. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and check out my other socials. If you're going into a cut, I hope that this video provided you with some value and you may have learned a thing or two if this is your first cut or you're going into another one and there's something you now realize that you want to change based off what I said. Just give it a try, let me know. Obviously I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional, but I've learned a lot of things through my past with doing this. I've been working out for 4 years, like I said. So there's a lot of things I've learned and I want to share with you guys. So if you found any of this helpful, if you have questions, just comment them down below. And I will see you guys on the next video.